सरस्वती गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे।
जय श्री
जय
कृष्ण
श्री कृष्ण
चैतन्य
चैतन्य प्रभु
नित्यानंद
नित्यानंद
श्री
श्री
अद्वैत
अद्वैत
गदाधर
गदाधर
श्रीवासदि
श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद।
गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे।
हरे कृष्ण भगवान की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय। हरे कृष्ण। So welcome back to our weekly Bhagavad Gita study. So we are reading from 10th chapter or 10th adhyay, and last week we studied text 9 and 10. So as we discussed earlier, the texts from 8 to 11 in the 10th chapter are called as Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita, and these are the essence of Bhagavad Gita. As it said, these 4 verses cover the whole essence of Bhagavad Gita. So last week we discussed that Krishna says that the thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. And for his devotees, he says that he gives special intelligence. And what is that? teṣām satata yuktānam bhajatāṃ prītipurvakam, that who are always engaged in my loving devotional service. Prītipurvakam. He uses a very specific word, that bhakti, how? Prītipurvakam, bhajatāṃ prītipurvakam. What does he do? Dadami, I give them buddhi yogam tam. I give them the intelligence. Yena, by which mam upayanti, they come back to me in the spiritual world. And today we are reading something that is very, very beautiful verse, which we can say that it is the main reason why Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So let's recite the verse.
Yeah.
teṣām evānukampārtham.
teṣām evānukampārtham.
teṣām evānukampārtham.
teṣām evānukampārtham.
aham ajñāna-jaṁ tamaḥ.
aham ajñāna-jaṁ tamaḥ.
aham ajñāna-jaṁ tamaḥ.
aham ajñāna-jaṁ tamaḥ.
nāśayāmy ātma-bhāva-stho.
nāśayāmy ātma-bhāva-stho.
nāśayāmy ātma-bhāva-stho.
nāśayāmy ātma-bhāva-stho.
jñāna-dīpena bhāsvatā.
jñāna-dīpena bhāsvatā.
jñāna-dīpena bhāsvatā.
jñāna-dīpena bhāsvatā.
teṣām evānukampārtham.
teṣām evānukampārtham.
aham ajñāna-jaṁ tamaḥ.
aham ajñāna-jaṁ
तमः।
nāśayāmy ātma-bhāva-stho.
nāśayāmy-ātma-bhāva-stho.
jñāna-dīpena bhāsvatā.
jñāna-dīpena bhāsvatā.
Okay, we'll take a couple of recitations. How about we start with Madhu Prabhu?
teṣām evānukampārtham.
teṣām evānukampārtham.
aham ajñāna-jaṁ tamaḥ.
aham ajñāna-jaṁ tamaḥ.
nāśayāmy-ātma-bhāva-stho.
nāśayāmy ātma-bhāva-stho.
ज्ञानदीपेन भावस्ता भास्वता
jñāna-dīpena bhāsvatā. Sunil Prabhu, you want to recite?
तेषमेवानुकम्पार्थ
teṣām evānukampārtham
अहम् अज्ञानजन्तमः
aham
अहम्
ajñāna-jaṁ
अज्ञानजन्तमः
नाशयानात्मभावस्थो
nāśayāmy ātma-bhāva-stho
आत्मभावस्थो
ज्ञानदीपेन भास्वता
jñāna-dīpena
ज्ञानदीपेन
bhāsvatā.
भास्वता
Thank you, Sunil Prabhu. The word for word meaning is teṣām, means for them. So he's referring to his devotees which are discussing in the last 4 verses. That first he said that one who knows my opulence is, I am the source of everything, spiritual and material, and everything comes from me. And one who knows this, they engage in my devotional service. And he further said that my devotees, they always talk about me among themselves, enlightening each other. And then in the previous verse, he said that to those devotees who are bhajatam priti purvakam, who are engaged in my devotional service, in my bhakti, with love and devotion, dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. That they come back to me, I give them intelligence so that they can come back to me. And further, he's saying teṣām, for them, to those devotees, eva, certainly, anukampārtham, to show special mercy. Anukampa, he is very compassionate about them. Aham means I. Ajñāna-jaṁ, ajñāna means ignorance. So due to ignorance, tamaḥ means darkness, darkness of unintelligence, ignorance. nāśayāmy, मी त्याचा नाश करतो, dispel. ātma-bhāva, within their hearts. Stho means situated. Jnana means of knowledge. Dīpena means with lamp. Bhāsvatā means glowing. So translation is to show them special mercy. I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So we are all in this material world are in the darkness, both ways, darkness of ignorance or ajñāna, as well as the physical darkness. The whole material creation is actually dark. That's why we need sun here. And without sun, this will be completely dark. So, but we are also in the darkness of ignorance. We are not in knowledge. We don't even know who we really are. What is our goal of life and why do we get certain type of body again and again? We don't even know actually we are going to get another body. Forget about why we got this body. But why we got certain type of body, why we are growing, what will happen to us. So this is all ignorance. This is not real knowledge. The skills what we learn is not real knowledge. The real knowledge is this, to know our real identity and to know who we are, what is our relationship with Krishna, who Krishna is, who is God, and what is our duty in that relationship. So that is real knowledge. So because we are ignorant of these all facts, so that's why we are all in the darkness of ajñāna or ignorance. But what Krishna says there, that to his devotees, he's very compassionate. He has anukampa for them. And because to show his compassion, anukampārtham, to show his special mercy, what does he do? He removes that darkness. nāśayāmy, ātma-bhāva-stho, nāśayāmy, that ajñāna tamaḥ, he says that I nāśayāmy, I completely destroy that, I dispel that. How? ātma-bhāva-stho, because I am also situated in their heart, and he dispels it just like with a lamp of knowledge. jñāna-dīpena, deepa means lamp, jnana. So jñāna-dīpena bhāsvatā, I dispel that by the glowing lamp of knowledge. I remove their ignorance. And that is the reason he is speaking this Bhagavad Gita, because he is so compassionate about all the living entities that he is trying to give this knowledge in the form of Bhagavad Gita through medium of Arjuna to all of us, all the living entities. And that's why it is duty of every human being to study this Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is so compassionate that he wants to give us this knowledge. So let's read the purport and we can further discuss this.
Done. When Lord Chaitanya was in Banaras, promulgating the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, thousands of people were following. Prakashananda Saraswati, a very influential and learned scholar in Banaras at that time, derided Lord Chaitanya for being a sentimentalist. Sometimes Mayavadi philosophers criticize the devotees because they think that most of the devotees are in the darkness of ignorance and are philosophically naive sentimentalists. Actually, that is not the fact. There are very, very learned scholars who have put forward the philosophy of devotion. But even if a devotee does not take advantage of their literature or of his spiritual master, if he is sincere in his devotional service, he is helped by Krishna himself within his heart. So the sincere devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness cannot be without knowledge. The only qualification is that one carry out devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. The Mayavadi philosophers think that without discriminating one cannot have pure knowledge. For them, this answer is given by the Supreme Lord. Those who are engaged in pure devotional service, even though they be without sufficient education and even without sufficient knowledge of the Vedic principles, are still helped by the Supreme God as stated in this verse.
Thank you, bro.
The Lord tells Arjuna that basically there is no possibility of understanding the supreme truth, the absolute truth, the supreme personality of Godhead simply by speculating. For the supreme truth is so great that it is not possible to understand him or to achieve him simply by making a mental effort. Man can go on speculating for several millions of years, and if he is not devoted, if he is not a lover of supreme truth, he will never understand Krishna or the supreme truth. Only by devotional service is the supreme truth, Krishna, pleased. And by his inconceivable energy, he can reveal himself to the heart of the pure devotee. The pure devotee always has Krishna within his heart, and with the presence of Krishna, who is just like the sun, the darkness of ignorance is at once dissipated. This is the special mercy rendered to the pure devotee by Krishna. Due to the contamination of material association, through many millions of births, one's heart is always covered with the dust of materialism. But when one engages in devotional service and constantly chants Hare Krishna, the dust quickly clears and one is elevated to the platform of pure knowledge. The ultimate goal, Vishnu, can be attained only by this chant and by devotional service, and not by mental speculation or argument. The pure devotee does not have to worry about the material necessities of life. He need not be anxious, because when he removes the darkness from his heart, everything is provided automatically by the Supreme Lord, who is pleased by the loving devotional service of the devotee. This is the essence of teachings of Bhagavad Gita. By studying Bhagavad Gita, one can become a soul completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord and engage himself in pure devotional service. As the Lord takes charge, one becomes completely free from all kinds of materialistic endeavors.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So very beautiful purport. So as we said, this we can say is the reason why, one of the primary reasons why Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita. People sometimes ask, why did Krishna speak Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna? What is the main reason? because he is very compassionate about all the living entities. And he, being our loving spiritual father, he wants to give us this knowledge. So if somebody asks that question, or somebody thinks that why Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita, we can start that first we need to understand who we are. And that's what in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells that we are not this body. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavvanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhiras tatra na muhyati. Krishna says in the second chapter, 13th verse, that just like in this deha, in this body, the soul transmigrates from a baby body to a youth body to a young man body to an old person's body. In the same manner, when the soul leaves this body and gets another body, a person who is sober or who is self-realized, dhiras tatra na muhyati. He is not disturbed. He is not deluded or bewildered. So that is our real identity. We are a spiritual being. We are not material beings in this human form. It is said that we are not human beings having spiritual experience, but we are actually spiritual being having human experience. So with that said, then the next question comes that what is our source, or who is our creator? And that answer also Krishna gives in the beginning of this verse, or in many places actually. That in the 7th chapter, he says, the matta parataram na anyad kinchidasti dhananjaya. That there is no superior truth than I, hey Arjuna, O Dhananjay. I am the source of everything. And that also he says in many places. And just one of the 8th verse, what we read, aham sarvasya prabho mattas sarvam pravartate. So that he is the source of everything. And he also claimed that all this material as well as the spiritual energies are coming from him. We read in the 7th chapter that all these material, bhumira apanalo vayu khammano buddhirevacha, that this earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego, ahankar, these are my separated 8 energies, material energies. But then he immediately says that there is something, these are inferior energies. The material energy is my inferior energy. But there is something superior than that, and that is the jiva bhutam mahabhaho, yedam dharayate jagat. So the living entity, the jiva bhuta, that is also Krishna's energy. So he is our father, and he also claims in the 14th chapter, sarva yoneshu kaunteya murtaya sambhavantiya teṣām brahma mahad yonir aham bija pradapita. That all these living entities which are around, they take different forms by birth. But I am the one original seed-giving father. Aham bija pradapita. So he is our original father. He is the source of all the living entities. And that's why he is very compassionate for us. He doesn't want us to see, he doesn't like to see us suffering in this material world. Because this place, he says that this is the dukkhalayam ashashvatam. Mamupatya punarjanma dukkhalayam ashashvatam. This is the place of miseries. This is place of dukkha. And this is also temporary, ashashvat. Everything here that is created one day will get destroyed. Everything that has a beginning always has an end. But we are eternal beings. We don't have a beginning and end. So, and that's why we are associating with this material energy where we think that, oh, I have a beginning and end. And that's where we have so much anxiety. That's why we have so much frustration. That's why we have so much distress in this material world. And because of that, we are constantly suffering with 4 primary problems we always discuss. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. We take birth, which is also painful. We grow old. old age, all of us, we are just getting there, almost there. And it's not pleasant. It is painful. Our senses stop functioning properly. Our body doesn't function the way it used to in certain time when we were young. And we forget things more often. Our memory is lost. Our eyesight is weakened. Our teeth will start giving up. Our hearing may not work eventually. So old age is not really very pleasant. But we cannot say that, oh, I don't want to get old. Everybody has to get old. So that is also one of the problems. Everybody gets disease, vyadhi, rog. And that's why we have so much doctors, insurance policies, medical system, but still nobody can escape from that. It may relieve us temporarily. That doesn't mean that we should not get medication, but it's painful. We catch some diseases and then we get that painful experience. And ultimately, everybody's fearful of death, but that is also inevitable. We know as sure as death, as we say. So we know everyone in this world eventually has to face that ultimate truth. So all these problems are there. So Krishna doesn't want us to suffer in this way. And that's why he's very compassionate for us. And he's trying to give us this knowledge, but we are so adamant that we don't want to take this. We try to make our own plans. We try to speculate certain things with our mentality and try to build our empires in this temporary world. So how long they are going to last? They are like sand castles on the beach, which with that one tide of wave and then everything is wiped out. So in the same manner, one tide of time, wave of time, and then everything gets wiped out from us. But still we try to build those castles and we try to be happy in those. So because of that, Krishna he feels anukampa for us. He is very compassionate for us. He wants us to be happy eternally because we are eternal beings and he is eternally our maintainer, and our eternal duty is to serve him in devotional service. That's why we call this dharma as eternal or sanatana dharma, which has always existed and which will always exist because it has no beginning and it has no end. That's why it is called sanatana dharma. So to give us that knowledge, he says that teṣām anukampārtham. So anukampa is the key word here. So teṣām eva anukampārtham. So because he's being a father, he has so much anukampa, compassion for all of us. So that's why he's trying to give you this knowledge. And what is he trying to do? Aham ajñāna-jaṁ nāśayāmy. So that darkness of ignorance, what we have in our heart, in our life, he says that I destroy that if you surrender to me, if you engage in my devotional service. You don't have to have any degree. You don't have to have any material education for that. Just having devotion to me and engaging in my service, I completely destroy that darkness of ignorance. How? By jñāna-dīpena bhāsvatā. He is residing in our heart as Paramatma, ātma-bhāva-stho. He is ātma-bhāva-stho. He is with the spiritual soul. He's eternal companion. He's eternally with us all the time. He's the one who never gives up on us. And that's how he's trying to shine with that shining lamp of knowledge. Jñāna-dīpena. He's trying to illuminate our heart and remove that darkness of ignorance. And that is the reason why Krishna spoke this Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna for us, because he is very compassionate. He loves us so much that he wants us to get out of this. But we are very adamant. We don't want to hear this. Now, in the purport, Prabhupada mentions that there are different types of jnanis, yogis, or spiritualists, or even some people who want to engage in Brahman realization, or some Vedantists. So when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was promoting or promulgating this Hare Krishna chanting in Banaras, there was one Mayavadi philosopher, or one philosopher who was more on the Vedantist side, Prakashananda Saraswati. And he was a very learned scholar. He was very learned in Vedanta philosophy. And that's why his idea was all the sannyasis should only study Vedanta Sutra, Vedas and Vedanta, and do not engage in any other service. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was promoting or this Hare Krishna Mahamantra and devotional service to the Lord, the followers of Prakashananda Saraswati were kind of saying that he seems to be a sentimentalist. He doesn't want to study Vedic literature. He doesn't want to study the Vedanta Sutra, and he just want to somehow engage in bhakti of Krishna with a sentimental knowledge. And that's why they went to Prakashananda Saraswati and talked about this sannyasi. And then the Prakashananda Saraswati invited him, and then he kind of tried to chastise Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, that why are you are a sannyasi. Now your duty is to study Vedanta and not waste your time in any other things. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he conversed, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained him why the ultimate goal of Vedanta study is also to engage in Krishna's service. Actually, to attain Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate goal of all the Vedas and Vedanta Sutra. And then Prakashananda Saraswati also understood that, and he, with all his followers, surrendered to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and became his followers. And actually, there is very beautiful prayer that Prakashananda Saraswati wrote. And then he also mentioned that if we get mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then all our desires will be vanquished. So then everything, even going to Swarga, will feel like a hell. So the way he said is, I was thinking of that first. Kaivalyam narakayate tridashapura akasha pushpayate. Kaivalyam means getting liberation. So Kaivalyam narakayate, even getting liberation is compared as narak. Tridashapura akasha pushpayate, and going to Swargaloka, Tridashapura. It seems like a illusion, like Akasha Pushpayate, that flowers growing in Akash, that is considered as illusory energy, illusion, which never exist. So even that is considered, going to Swargaloka is kind of unnecessary, or it's illusion. Durdantendriya skala sarpapatali proktantadam shayate. And our senses, Indriya, they are durdanta, they are so adamant. They are pulling us everywhere. So they are compared to Kala Sarpa. Durdantendriya Kala Sarpa Patali. They are like a Kala Sarpa which are dragging us everywhere. Because our tongue says, oh, go to this restaurant because that is, they just open and they have some very palatable dish there and you must eat there. Or our ear are always attracted to some kind of orchestra or some material songs and other thing. Our eyes wants to see something beauty or sometimes beautiful women and other things. Our nose, and so all our senses, our touch sense is always looking for some pleasure, particularly sex pleasure mostly. So all these senses are dragging us, and that's why they are compared to Kala Sarpa. But he says, Durdantendriya Kala Sarpa Patili Proktatadam Strayate. So even though these are snakes, but when by mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when I get his mercy, they act like snakes whose venomous teeth are extracted. Proktata damstrayate. Damstrayate means the venomous teeth are completely extracted. So they are useless. So even they try to bite, nothing will happen. So indriyas will work, but they are not going to impact me more. So this type of prayer he wrote, and that's a very beautiful prayer actually. So here, he mentioned that Prabhupada is mentioning that this philosopher criticized the devotees, bhakta, because they think that most of the devotees they think, according to them, devotees are in darkness of ignorance and are philosophically naive. They don't have the philosophy. But Krishna actually says in Bhagavad-Gita many places, because I am the one who gives knowledge to my devotees, so they don't have to make special endeavor for study of Vedas. It's not that they should not study Vedas, but just by our own endeavor, when we study Vedic literature or any Puranas, the Bhagavad Gita or Mahabharata, we may not understand without engage in Krishna's service, because Krishna is the one who reveals this to us. This knowledge is revealed to us. We cannot by our own endeavor study and understand this. This is given through Guru Shishya Parampara, and Krishna, by his mercy and by Guru's mercy, reveals this knowledge to us. So Prabhupada immediately defeats that actually that is not the fact, but the very learned scholars have put forward the philosophy of devotion. And even Krishna says in the 18th chapter that how one can understand Krishna, because understanding Krishna is the ultimate goal of life, understanding the supreme absolute truth, who is the source of everything. In the 7th chapter, first he says that Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatate siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam vetti tattvata. That out of thousands among men, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid, hardly anyone, kinchit ekhad dusra, api siddhaye, may attain siddhi or perfection. And out of many of those who have attained perfection like that, hardly anyone will know me in truth. Vetti tattvataha. But in 18th chapter he says, or in the 11th chapter also he says, Bhaktya mam abhijanati. Only by bhakti one can know me. Bhaktya mam abhijanati. How? Yavan yaschasmi tattvata. The way I am, tattvata one can understand. How? Only by bhakti. He doesn't say by jnana, by karma, or by yoga, or no, any other process he doesn't say. He says only by bhakti one can understand me. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvata tato ma tattvato jñātva vishate tadanantaram. We can open that verse in 18, I think 56 or something like that. Let's see. Okay. So he says, Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvata tato ma tattvato jñātva vishate means enters. Tad anantaram. After engaging my devotional service, one enters into my abode, my spiritual abode, the kingdom of God. So here he says that one can understand me as I am, tattvataha, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service, bhaktya. And when one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into my abode or the kingdom of God. Vishate tad anantaram. So that's why bhakti is very important. And here also he says that by one who is engaged in devotional service, he gives them that knowledge within the heart. Within the heart. That knowledge is revealed within the heart. The Mayavadi philosophers who are more engaged in studies of the Vedic Vedanta philosophy, think that without discriminating, one cannot get pure knowledge. But here Krishna is saying that it doesn't matter if you have educational duty or education or not, material education or not. If you engage in my devotional service, I will give you the knowledge. So simply by speculation, there are many scientists, many philosophers, many tattvajnanis are trying to speculate who is God, or if there is God even exists, or many scientists claim even that there is no God. And the one of the examples I recently think of is Stephen Hawking. He once said that we don't need God, there is no God. But somebody afterwards, Stephen Hawking said that, oh, Stephen Hawking said that there is no God, and when he left, God said that there is no Stephen Hawking. So that was kind of funny statement. But they cannot even explain how this everything came into being, and people claim that there was a Big Bang and other things, but what was the cause of Big Bang? Nobody can explain. So man can go on speculating for several millions of years, but if he is not devoted and he is not lover of the Supreme Lord, he will never understand the Supreme Absolute Truth, that is Krishna. Only when Krishna explains and we understand is through authority, then we can understand what is the Supreme Absolute Truth. Because he's inconceivable. He's not, with our little brain, little intelligence, we cannot understand, or we cannot even comprehend all this, what is creation. And you see, that's why I think we talked about this in the past. We do not even have the idea of what and who God is. We always try to see God from our own limited experience, our own limited intelligence. And that in the Vedic literature is called Kupamanduka Vritti. Kupamanduka means a frog mentality, a frog in the well. His whole world, that well is the whole world for him. So he cannot think beyond the well. So if we try to explain him that there is a Pacific Ocean, he will always compare with the well. So he may say that, oh, this may be as big as the well, or maybe twice the well, or 10 times the well. But he cannot think beyond that. He cannot understand the vastness of the ocean. In the same manner, when we think of God, we can think of some really great person, what we know of, or we can think of some experience in this earthly planet perspective, which we don't know completely. Or we can think of some stars and we can think of, okay, God must be like that or something like that. But when we understand that he is infinite, or we cannot comprehend him, which is beyond, he says that he is creator of many, many millions of trillions of universes like this. Now, we cannot even comprehend one universe. We don't know what is in this universe. So forget about many million universes. And we cannot, based on our experience, we are not ready to accept that a person can create so many universes. And his energy is maintaining everything. And he's the one who is creating, annihilating, and maintaining everything. And that's where, because of that limitation, we cannot understand who God is, and unless we hear from him directly or from his representative. And that we accept as authority. We are in such a precarious condition. We are in such a condition that we have to accept some authority. Even when we argue with something, we argue on the basis of what we have learned either in the school or read in the book or heard from someone. We on ourselves don't have capacity to understand anything. We have to rely on some authority. So all those scientific arguments the so-called scientists put forward, because they have studied in certain way from the books, or they have used their senses to understand something which the senses themselves are imperfect, or they have come to some conclusion based on what they saw or experienced through their senses. So all this knowledge is considered as imperfect, because in the Vedic literature there are said that 3 ways to get the knowledge. One is pratyaksha praman, or experiencing through our senses. Second one is anumana praman, or drawing some conclusion, anuman, based on what we experience. We don't see it directly, but we can draw some conclusion based on our experience. And third one is shabda praman. And Vedic literature says that the first 2 are imperfect because they are based on our imperfect senses. Our senses are not perfect, so anything what we perceive through our senses is imperfect. Even when I say that, oh, I have to see to believe it, but my seeing capacity is also very limited. I cannot see in the dark, first thing. And even what I see, I can be very easily tricked, because I can see something and which there are so many illusions what we see, so which we realize later that it is not what I saw is not correct. And also what I see from material perspective is only certain wavelength of light. So where were we? Yeah, so seeing. So when we say seeing is believing, I can see only certain wavelength of light. I cannot see beyond ultraviolet or beneath less than infrared. So that seeing also, or hearing also, I can hear only certain wavelength in up to certain decibels. So that's why that the knowledge what Vedic literature says is only the shabda praman, hearing from authority. And that's why Vedas are called Shruti. So we always hear from the authority which is coming directly from Krishna, directly from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he is the only authority. He is the supreme authority. So only the authority which represents him and gives us knowledge as it is, without contaminating, without adding or subtracting, that knowledge is pure. And that's why Shabda Praman is said to be the most authorized way of getting knowledge. And that's why Krishna says that only by his mercy we can get that knowledge. And that's why he says by jñāna-dīpena bhāsvatā, he is removing that ignorance through that knowledge, through the lamp of knowledge. So I think it's already 10:30 here. So yeah, mostly that was the gist of this verse. But thank you so much. Hare Krishna. We'll get some reflections. Yes, Prabhuji's thoughts, reflections.
मध्ये थोडा वेळ मी नव्हतो ऍक्च्युली, माय कॉल वॉज गोइंग ऑन.
रिफ्लेक्शन मेनली हेच पुन्हा आहे की त्याला की भक्ती सर्वश्रेष्ठ आहे. बाकी तुम्ही काही म्हणजे कसलंही ज्ञान घ्या, शिक्षण घ्या किंवा काही करा, तिथं त्याला भक्ती हा राजमार्ग आहे आणि भक्ती हेच शेवटी तुम्हाला त्या अंतिम ध्येयापर्यंत पोहोचवणार. हेच महत्वाचं रिफ्लेक्शन आहे.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. That's the whole gist of whole Bhagavad-Gita. And then we are going to come to that point every time we read anything from Bhagavad-Gita.
Yes.
That many time frequently, I mean, या गोष्टीवर जास्त भगवद्गीतेत हे खूप वेळा आलेलं आहे. करेक्ट ना. भक्ती योग जास्त जोपर्यंत तुम्हाला भक्ती नाही तोपर्यंत तुम्हाला रिअलायझेशन नाही होणार. जस्ट भगवद्गीता वाचून किंवा पठण करून देव म्हणजे ते हे होईल, सगळं समजेल असं नाहीये ऍक्च्युली.
Yes, the purpose of Bhagavad Gita itself is to develop bhakti for him. That's what he said.
Exactly. म्हणून older people always keep saying, मनात नाही तर काही नाही.
करेक्ट.
मनात असलं पाहिजे.
मनात
And we always think की see in the younger age I used to always think हे मनात असणं म्हणजे काय, हाऊ डू यू काय मन शुद्ध आहे की नाही ते दुसऱ्यांना कधीही होत नाही, आपल्यालाच करावं लागेल आणि आपल्यालाच माहित नाही. People will only see us as they think we are. But this is very true, and for everybody with a clear man or a clear heart, this particular thing is perfectly, he gives that mercy, right? मनात एकदा कृष्ण घुसला तर मग मर्सीच मर्सी आहे. तोपर्यंत you live your life the way you want. So, absolutely, I mean, these golden words sound more meaningful only as we age, I think. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So,
thank you, bro. Yeah, this is one of the very beautiful verse, and this is, as I said, one of the primary causes that Krishna spoke BhagavadGita to Arjuna.
भगवद्गीतेमध्ये मला म्हणजे थोडा असा विरोधाभास आहे का की भक्ती आहे, तुम्ही भक्ती करताय, पण भगवंताने असे म्हणलेलं की म्हणजे कितीतरी तुम्ही समजू नाही शकणार असं पण आहे, असं काय. दॅट इज स्केरी ऍक्च्युअली. म्हणजे व्हेअर इज अप टू व्हॉट पॉइंट तक तुम्ही ती भक्ती करायला पाहिजे, म्हणजे काय आहे, म्हणजे जर
नाही त्याला पॉइंट नसतो.
हा, इयर्स अँड इयर्स त्याला पॉइंट नाहीये. म्हणजे तुम्ही कितीही भक्ती केली तरी लाखो कोटी लोकातलं एखाद्यालाच देव पावतो किंवा पावतच नाही. म्हणजे मग नक्की काय हे सगळं?
नाही, भक्ती केली तर देव पावत नाही असं नाही म्हटलेलं.
देव पावत नाही किंवा त्याला व्हायला हवंय.
भाव महत्वाचा आहे, त्यामागचा भाव.
ऍक्च्युअली जेवढा भक्ती तेवढा पावतो इज व्हॉट आय विल से.
ये यथा माम प्रपद्यन्ते तां तथैव भजाम्यहम्. कृष्णा says in the 4th chapter.
आणि आपल्याला जसं सुदाम्याचं माहिती आहे किंवा शबरीचं माहिती आहे, तर तिला बाकीचं काही हे नव्हतं, पण त्याच्या मागे जो तो भाव होता की मला रामासाठी चांगलंच द्यायचंय, त्या भावामुळे ते म्हणजे ती थोडक्यात ती भक्तीच होती तिची. आणि देव तेच
त्या भाव करता सॉरी
येस येस बोला.
नाही, ऍक्च्युअली त्या भाव करता तिचा मनात राम नेहमीच होता. सी एक भाव आलं तरी शी वॉज थिंकिंग ऑफ राम 24/7.
नाही, करेक्ट. मला तेच म्हणायचं की इज इट नॉट सफिशियंट और समथिंग मोर इट इज रिक्वायर्ड. देव आहे, भक्ती आहे, मनात आहे आणि सर्व करतोय. एनिथिंग.
सो भक्ती म्हणजे काय ते पहिल्यांदा समजून घ्यायला पाहिजे. आपलं कन्फ्युजन तिथे स्टार्ट होतं. So bhakti, there are few verses I will quote. One is the definition of bhakti that is given in Narada Pancharatra, that it says sarva upadhi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchyate. So sarva upadhi, we are all living with many upadhis that are related to this body. So first, when I understand that I am not this body, so everything, that designation or upadhi that is related to this body is temporary. That I am Indian, I am American, I am man, I am woman, I am so and so, I am engineer, I am doctor. All these upadhis, or I am director, I am CEO, are related to this body. So when I am not attached to this upadhi, I am free from all these designations, and that way I am purified. So I am acting temporarily in that role because it is my duty, but I am not attached. That degree of attachment depends. So sarva upadhi vinirmuktam, mukta from that upadhi, tat paravena nirmalam, and that's how I am purified. Nirmala, mala means dirty things, and nirmala means pure, cleansed from that dirt. Rishika means indriya, sense. Rishikena means using those senses. Rishikesha, Rishika Isha, the controller of the senses is Krishna. Krishna's another name is Rishikesha. He is the supreme controller of even our senses. Rishikena, Rishikesha Sevanam. Seva. Bhakti is not neutral. Bhakti is not neutral. Bhakti is not inactivity. It's full of activities. Seva.
Right.
So, Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhaktir Uchyate. It is called Bhakti. So, what is called Bhakti? First, free myself from all designations, because with these designations, if I go, I feel proud or something. I have different emotions about myself. So, first cleanse those and be free from them. And with that attitude, when I use my all the senses in service of master of senses, that is Krishna, Rishikesha, that is called Bhakti. That is the definition of Bhakti given in Narada Pancharatra. And I think last time, sometime back, we read verses from Srimad Bhagavatam about Ambarisha Maharaj. So how he engaged all his senses in service of Krishna. Savai mana Krishna padara vindayo vachamsi vaikunta gunanu varnani. So mana, starting saying man is also one sense. So we have 11 senses. So what are those? 5 jnanendriya by which we acquire knowledge. So
Yes.
hearing, touching, seeing, tasting, and smelling. All these 5 jnanendriya, by these senses we acquire knowledge through this. And then 5 karmendriya by which we work. So those are hands, legs, tongue to speak, that is what? Anus and genital. To evacuate and to create progeny. So these are working senses through which we work. And mind is the controller of all these senses. So mind is called the 11th sense. Manashashtani indriyani prakriti-sthani karshati, Krishna says in the BhagavadGita, 15th chapter. So all these different senses, when we engage, starting with mind. So what Ambarish Maharaj did? Savai mana Krishna padara vindayo. His mind, he is engaged in the lotus feet of Krishna. Pada aravinda. Vachamsi vaikunta gunanu varnani. And vacha, the ability to speak, he used for glorifying Krishna. Guna varnana karnasati Krishna. And so on. Kara padara, kara for his washing his temples or lotus feet. Pada for going to different tirtha. And all these,
Yes.
there are few verses in Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th canto, how Ambarish Maharaj, he is the example of how he engaged all his senses in Krishna's service. So that is one definition of bhakti, and I think I can go on for a long time, but I'll take short. And the pure bhakti, then in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami takes next step and he explains what is Shuddha Bhakti or Uttama Bhakti or pure bhakti. So where he explains that is the ultimate goal of every devotee or every bhakta. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadanaurtam anukulena krishnanu shilanam bhaktiruttama. Uttama bhakti. What is that? Anya abhilashita shunyam. I don't have any other desire, abhilasha, other than pleasing Krishna. So all my activities, I am trying to only please Krishna. And that's what we see from all the bhakta or santagan. Everybody, Mirabai, she is just trying to please Krishna with her everything. Tukaram Maharaj, Eknath, they were all working so that Krishna is pleased. They didn't want anything for themselves. So anyabhilashita shunyam. Shunya abhilasha. And it is free from jnana and karma. So the speculative knowledge, what we are trying to understand, we by our jnana, our capacity, we are trying to understand who is Bhagwan, all that stuff. So jnana and karma also, karma for our pleasure. Many people are engaged in karma. Jnana karma adana. So it is free of jnana and karma. And anukulena krishnanu shilanam. So Krishna's anushilan, but anukul, not pratikul. We are always think of him. We are always engaging in some activity which is favorable to Krishna's pastimes. Favorable, anukul. Because Shastra gives example that even Hiranyakashipu, Ravan, Kamsa, they were most Krishna conscious people.
Because they hated him
always thinking of Krishna.
Correct.
But they were thinking in pratikul way. They were always thinking how I can kill Krishna, or Krishna will come and kill me, or something like that. But they were always thinking of Krishna, and that's what is bhakti. Thinking of Krishna is bhakti, always. But that is pratikula way. But here it says anukulena Krishna anushilanam bhakti uttama. That is uttama bhakti. And that is the goal of a bhakta to get there. When I am free from all the abhilasha, when I am free from all the jnana and karma, and I am always thinking how I can serve Krishna favorably, anukul. That is uttama bhakti. And then Prahlad Maharaj gives very nice way, nine different processes of bhakti. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma-bhāva-stho. In Bhagavatam, he tells this to his father, who is Hiranyakashipu. He is one of the greatest demons. But that's Prahlad Maharaj. So all these activities, even Shravanam, what we are doing right now is also part of bhakti. It is a way of bhakti. Kirtanam, we are doing Shravanam and Kirtanam, and simultaneously Smaranam also, thinking of him. And then Archanam, Vandanam, Krishna's Arti karna, Vandanam, Namaskar karna, Dandavat Pranam karna, Krishna Samor. Vandanam, Dasyam, working as a servant for him, working for a temple, or working as a Hanumanji is the best example of Dasyam.
Yes.
Sakhyam, Arjuna is considered as one of the best examples. Yes. Sakhyam. And Atma-nivedanam, giving up everything to Krishna, Bali Maharaj.
Yes.
To Vamandev, he surrendered all he was ruling on the three worlds, and he gave everything to Vamandev. And Vamandev, when he conquered everything in two steps, and then he surrendered even himself. That third step, where do I put? Put it on my head, please. Bhagavan, I surrender to you completely. That Vamandev, Bali Maharaj, the best example of Atma-nivedanam. So that is the bhakti. When we think of bhakti, we are so less understanding. We think that somebody is doing something, just going to temple or just doing something is bhakta. Yes, he is bhakta. But to understand bhakta is very difficult, because we don't know what is in the heart. We don't understand. And that's why when we think two things we should avoid on the path of bhakti. One is, we should not expect any certification from others that you are a good bhakta.
Neither should we certify.
And we should not give anybody a certificate that you are not a good bhakta or good bhakta.
Right.
Because we don't know what is within the heart, what they are going through, and how dedicated they are, what is their bhav. Because otherwise that will be offense. And Vaishnava aparad is considered as very great offense on the path of bhakti. If we accidentally say somebody, oh, you are not doing better, or no, we should not. We can help him and try to, if they come for help, we can try to help him, but we should not try to give certification to anybody, he is good or bad bhakti or anything. So I don't know if that gives some perspective, Rajesh.
Just one interruption. I like that question. Jana bhakti naste tana dev pavat nahi ka, was a very good question. Actually, it is like our study. Ek tas वाचलंस तर 35% येते. Today, whatever bhakti we have, it doesn't allow us to do wrong things. Which means we are still doing good things, acquiring good karma. And the more that bhakti, that occupation of the mind from, that 10-minute puja to 24/7 is what is the ultimate in bhakti. Which is true of everything. म्हणजे दिवसभर अभ्यास केला तर बहुतेक त्याला 90-95% मिळतील. But then that 5%, that cannot be determined. It is completely left on that person. All the sons, they had nothing. You tell them anything. काहीही बोललं, काहीही केलं, दगड मारलं तरी he was only Krishna conscious, which is the ultimate. But then it is not that we as bhaktas don't see God. We see God in various things. In that we do not do wrong things. There are certain people who take a liking, help us in that time. These are all God's grace only. But to expect it to be like what we see of Mira, that is taking the ultimate, which is a long step or a long way to go.
Yeah. But we have to go steady. We cannot try to imitate those. Just take slow steps, and everything is. Krishna says in the second chapter, "Swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahatobhayat." Even a small progress on this path can protect us from great dangers. So we can take small steps. There is no wrong, and the more we are sincerely trying, more Krishna reveals to us. He helps us. He is the one who is helping us all the time. And bhakti is in every single living entity's heart.
Yes.
It is there. That doesn't mean that the demons don't have bhakti. No, they also. So it is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Krishna prema nitya siddha or Krishna bhakti nitya siddha sadhya kabunaye Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Karaye Uday. So Krishna Prema or Krishna Bhakti is in every living entity's heart.
Yes.
Sadhya Kabunai, for whom it will not be possible. For everyone it is possible. But Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte, hearing with pure heart, it is aroused. So more and more we hear about BhagavadGita, Bhagavatam, Krishna Katha from pure devotees. With Shuddha Chitta, with pure heart, it is aroused, it is awakened. It is there in the dormant state of in every living entity. In every single living entity. He may be a staunch atheist, but it says that even he has bhakti and it will be aroused, it will be awakened when somehow or other he comes in contact of a pure devotee and hears from him.
Yes.
And then it will take its own path. Yeah. So it is there in everybody's heart. So it does not mean that oh, I don't have any hope anymore now, or that person does not have any. No, that's not true. So I hope that helps, Rajesh Prabhu. We went a little bit overboard.
Yes.
Rajesh Parve Prabhu.
Yeah. Yes.